Well, hey, parents, as you know, my name's Graham Matthews and I run Empowered STEM. And Empowered STEM is an A level course provider, and we provide A level courses in biology, chemistry, physics, and maths for those students that want to enroll in medical, dental, veterinary, financial, and engineering programs at the chosen university in the UK. So today, I wanted to come in today, and today's live stream is kind of a different one. All right, it's all about sleep. It's all about teens and your sleep, and so it's the science of sleep and learning. Which, when I was preparing this live stream, I thought interesting topic. But here it is: is your teen parents? Is your teen one of the teens that they stay up late revising? They're up all night burning the midnight oil, and yet when they take the test, the exam the next day, they come home and they say, "Mom, Dad, you know what? I froze on the test. I just blanked on the test. I didn't recall anything that I learned the night before." Or is your teen one of those teens that just wakes up exhausted and they're straight? They're all all right, and so alive. Hi, everybody. My name's Graham Matthews, and as you know, I run Empowered STEM. And Empowered STEM is an A level course provider, and we provide A level courses in biology, chemistry, physics, and maths for those students that want to enroll in medical, dental, veterinary, financial, and engineering programs at the chosen university in the UK. So today, I wanted to come in and this live stream, and I wanted to talk about the science of sleep and learning. Yes, I know. Parents, are you one of these parents that your teen is up late every night revising for the A level maths, the A level science courses, and yet they forget about most of what they've learned the next day on the test or the exam? Or is your teen one of these teens that wake up exhausted and they're struggling to stay awake and stay focused in the lessons? Well, the reason for this is that people think that sleep is lost time. But I'll prove to you today, in today's live stream, parents, that sleep is not lost time, it's actually learning time. And so by the end of this live stream today, what I'll do is I'll show you the science behind sleep and memory and how you can help your teen perform better, perform at their best without any burnout. So this is the problem. The problem is that your teen lives in this culture of late night, early morning, and constant screens. And so if you're watching this one on YouTube, if you're watching it on Facebook, leave a comment below. Is your teen one of these teens? They're up all night, either binge watching Netflix, television, studying, revising. They're getting up early in the morning, and they always have, with my iPhone, they always have a phone in their hand. They're always looking at a screen. Okay. Now, the reason for this one is that teens believe that if they study later, they're working harder. And parents, what we've got to do on this one is we need to give your teen some credit because it does seem to make a bit of sense. I need to put in the time, Graham. I need to put in the effort. I need to pay attention to my A level biology or chemistry course. So obviously, time I go to school, I get up, I commute to college, I'm in lessons all day, I commute back, I have to eat something, and then I do need a bit of downtime, and then I have to study. Well, of course, I'm studying in late into the night because it's the only time that I have to get any work done. And so what they believe is that studying later into the night, pulling the all-nighters, burning the midnight oil, all right, is actually working harder. But the problem is that it's not quite true. Yes, you do need to put time in, but you need to be selective about where your teen puts in the time. And then, of course, you have the parents. The parents, well, they also think, well, of course my teen's exhausted, Graham. They're a teenager. They're going through their growing phase. Well, they're taking A levels. Of course, they're meant to be exhausted. They're meant to be grumpy. They're meant to be tired. They think that this is normal for teens. Well, the truth is that it isn't. It isn't normal, parents, for your teen to be up all night studying. It isn't normal for them to be exhausted because the brain is not wired that way. Now, look, studies have shown this one, right? Studies have shown this one. And at Empowered STEM, we're always using science, we're always using neuroscience, we're always using cognitive science to help your teen be more successful in what they do in the A levels. But studies have shown this one, that poor quality sleep quietly erodes away focus, confidence, and grades. It becomes a negative, self-fulfilling spiral. Your teen is exhausted. They're up all night, studying, revising. They get the bad grade on the test or the exam. So they think, well, what I've got to do is I've got to study more. I've got to revise more. I've got to pull more all-nighters in order to get the grades up. And of course, they get more and more tired. The more tired they get, the less able that the less able to focus in lessons. The less they can concentrate. And so the focus just diminishes. And because the focus has diminished, parents, now the confidence also diminishes, because whereas before they used to think that they could do it, there's a link between belief and behavior. Well, now all of a sudden they're thinking, well, I can't do it because I keep on getting these bad grades in A-level chemistry or A-level biology or A-level maths. So maybe I'm not a science person. Maybe I chose the wrong A-levels. Okay. And of course, once the confidence decreases, the motivation decreases, they get more frustrated, which means to make more silly errors, more silly mistakes. And so the grades go down. And so they just spiral all the way down to the bottom grade you can possibly get in A-level maths and A-level science. So the question is then, parents, the question is, what exactly can we do to help your teen? Well, first off, I think what we've got to do is that we've got to understand that there is a science behind sleep and learning. And like I said, at Empowered STEM, we're always using neuroscience, we're always using cognitive science in order to help your teen be more successful in the A levels. There is a science behind sleep and learning. They've done studies on it. And what they've noticed is this, is that with memory consolidation, they've done studies and they understand that when your teen learns something new, that information, it's loaded into the hippocampus, the short-term memory. And then this is the important bit. When your teen sleeps, it's when all the information in the brain that is learned that day, it's consolidated. Think about, it's like when your teen is sleeping, the brain begins to file and organize everything that they've learned that day. And it moves it from the hippocampus, the short-term memory, into the long-term memory. Now, if your teen doesn't get a good night's sleep, what happens is this, is that they don't recall as well what they learned. So whatever they studied the night before, because they're tired, because they didn't have a good night's sleep, because the brain didn't have the chance to consolidate the information, what they studied didn't stick. Starts moving them down the downward spiral, doesn't it? Number 2 is the REM sleep and problem solving. Have you ever done this one? Have you heard about it's a saying, oh, just, let me sleep on it before I make a big decision. Let me sleep on it. All right. It's an old wives' tale, but they can actually prove it now using science. And it's this one. When you sleep, your mind, it goes through various stages of sleep. And the one stage that is most important for us right now is the REM sleep stage, because it's in the REM sleep stage, the dream stage, that your teen's mind begins to connect ideas together and it begins to understand and work on complicated information and problems. Okay, so it's why sometimes, you wake up. The other old saying was always leave a notepad by the side of the bed along with a pen because you may wake up with a brilliant idea. All right, because when you wake up, your mind has had time to process all the information, to make all the connections with the information, and then it understands it better. So, if your teen gets a good night's sleep, they can start to connect the ideas, the links between all the ideas, the complicated information. And so what they've done is this, and again, this is a study that they've done, is this one, parents, is that they've noted that well-rested students perform better on problem solving and application questions. Let me say that again. Well-rested students perform better on problem solving and application questions. Now, parents, why is this of interest to us? Simple. What do you think the new way of the A-level exam is? Way of the A-level exams, it's all application questions. It's all problem solving. It's not memorization. Memorization is going to get you a C, as in you could have gone to medical school. It's those students that can apply the knowledge, the information in novel situations and problem solve that are going to get the A and the A star. So which one, parents, do you want for your teen? I think you want them to get the A or the A star, right, in A-level maths and A-level science, which means that they've got to be really good at problem solving and applying the information, which means that after they have studied and revised the information, they need a good night's sleep. Third one is cognitive load and fatigue. Again, another study that's been done. And what they notice is this, is that tired brains, teens with tired brains who are exhausted, they have a smaller working memory capacity, which means that they recall less information. And because they recall less information, the simple questions feel harder. So maybe this happened to you, parents, when you were doing A-levels or you were doing a test at school and you're really tired and you got the grade back on the test and you're thinking, oh, you know what? That was such a simple question. Why did I get it wrong? I've done that question so many times before because it was an error that you made because you were tired. And so they've proven that if your teen's brain is fatigued, if it's tired, they make silly mistakes. And silly mistakes lower their confidence. So this is the science behind sleep and learning, right? It's all neuroscience. It's all cognitive science. But parents, what exactly can you do to help your teen? Could you say, well, Graham, this is really fantastic. You're coming on to the live stream, helping us out here with understand the connection between science and sleep. But what exactly can we do to help our teens be successful? Well, number one is this. Again, it's patterns. Tony Robbins, the great motivational speaker, one of his sayings is success leaves clues. And he's always looking for patterns. And so here's some habits, here's some patterns that you may want to take into account. Number one is put your teen on a consistent sleep rhythm. What does this mean? You go to bed at the same time and you get up at the same time. Now, you don't have to do this, but I get up at 5 o'clock every day. Why? Routine, habit. Even on the weekend, I go to bed about the same time every night. Why? Routine, habit. I've trained my body to get into the habit of waking up at this time and falling asleep at this time, so I get a good night's rest. Number two is protect the pre-sleep window. You say, well, Graham, what on earth is a pre-sleep window? Pre-sleep window is this one. It's the 45 minutes before your teen turns off the light. This is the pre-sleep window. And what they shouldn't be doing is that they shouldn't be looking at screens. That's right. They should not be looking at the phone. They shouldn't be looking at a laptop. They shouldn't be watching television because it's stimulating the brain. And what it does is it decreases the amount of melatonin in your teen's brain, which is what they need for a good night's sleep. The next one is get your teen to understand, get your teen to have a belief shift. So they understand that rest is linked to performance. Because again, to go back to the beginning of this live stream, right? Teens think if they work themselves to exhaustion, they're putting in more work, the grade has to be better. Not quite. What they need to do is understand that they need to be well rested. And if they're well rested, they will perform better because the brain is more optimal, is more optimized to be successful. So what does this mean? This means that they've got to understand that studies show, and again, it's a lot of studies on this one, parents. Studies show that teens that get a good night's sleep, they're well rested, have a 40% better recall on tests and exams. 40%, parents. So basically, this means 40%, by the way, is at least 2 letter grades. So your teen can move from a C to an A, letter grade wise, 40% improvement if they are well rested before they take the test or the exam. And the last habit is this one. Model it for them, parents. You know, if your teen sees you get up at the same time every day, go to bed at the same time every day, protect the pre window, then what's going to happen is that they see you do it and they'll model what you do, because you know what the saying is, right? Teens don't listen to what you say, they model what you do. Now, is there any proof? Is there any story behind this one? Well, yes, of course there is. All right, is this one? Look, this is a topic, this is a conversation that we have with all the students when they're coming in to our courses at Empower STEM, especially the year 12 students, okay? Because what happens is this, is that they all come in, say year 12, for example, they all come in with the idea that, oh, the big jump from GCSE to A level, well, I've got to put in the time, the effort, and the attention, right, Graham? I've really got to work myself hard. I'd be up all night studying. I've got the entire weekend planned out exactly what I'm doing. Or if it's a year 13 student, the issue is this one, is that now they're in a bit of a panic mode because like, didn't quite get the grade that I wanted. I got to work extra hard in year 13. My mom and dad said, this is the year that counts. Come on, you can do it. And so I got to put in all the extra hours, stay up late, everything. No, don't need to do that. All right. What they need to do, and this is what we teach the students enrolled in our courses, is that they need to have a study plan. And so they know exactly what they're doing every day of the week with regards to studying. They need to have a revision plan in place so they know every day what they're revising for. And they need to have a framework that they can follow. So the framework that we use is based on neuroscience, the 6 pillars of neuroscience as applied to learning, number 1. And number 2, we help your team put a study plan together so they're always working 72 hours in advance. And so there isn't any surprise quizzes, tests, last minute homework sessions, up all night studying, all day and all night on the weekend. No. And so the teens enrolled in our courses, they have a really good school life balance. Now, does this work? Yes, it does, because it's based on logic, it's based on science, it's based on neuroscience, it's based on cognitive science, it's based on academic coaching. And this is why the teens, the students that are all in our courses, they do rather well. They consistently earn the A and the A star. Because what we realized at the company, and again, studies show this, is this one. Look, motivation problems don't come from attitude, they come from exhaustion. So your teen doesn't have a bad attitude towards A-level maths or A-level science. They're exhausted. And because they're exhausted, they don't want to put the time in. All right. And so therefore, they're not motivated. And parents think, oh, well, they've got a bad attitude towards it. No, they don't have a bad attitude towards it. It's that they're exhausted. And so you need to switch. You need to rewire the framework that they're using in order to be more successful. Now, parents, what you understand is this, is that sleep is not a luxury. What sleep is linked directly to academic performance, mental health, and resilience. Because if your teen is well rested, they're going to recall more information that they've learned, that they understand, which means that their academic performance is going to go up. They're going to start walking the pathway, climbing the ladder to the A or the A star. Their mental health is going to be better because they're not going to be stressed out. They're not going to be frustrated. They're not going to be exhausted. And they're going to have more resilience to problem solve. Now, let me leave you with this one, parents. Maybe this term, maybe your teen does not need another textbook. Right. Maybe what they need is a better night's sleep. Now, I always say this, parents, at the end of every live stream, if you are interested in what we do, meaning that you say, well, Graham, every week you're coming out with one of these live streams that's always based on some science-based activities that you do at Empower STEM in order to help the teens be successful, to earn those A and the A stars. And I want to learn more. I want to get on to the insider track, if you would. Well, it's really easy. All you got to do is just subscribe. If you're on YouTube, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, or if you're on Facebook, you can follow the business page. And then you will always be in the loop. You'll be in the know when it comes to the next live stream that we put out. And also, if you're interested in learning more about our courses, because we offer courses in A-level biology, chemistry, physics, and maths, as you know. Are you interested in having a conversation with a member of my team? Really easy to do. All right. The link is on the Facebook description below the video, and it's on the YouTube below the video. All right. Complete the form, and a member of my team will reach out to you, and they will have a non-sales conversation with you. So this means that you can talk to a member of my team and you can explain where your teen is academically, what grade you want them to get, what university that you want them to attend, what career you want them to have. And we'll tell you about our courses and what we do to help teens like yours be successful. And if it's a good fit, well, then you can take the next step. All right, everybody take care, and I'll see you on the next one.